Okay, fantastic. So we can start. So I'm Claudio Mantero. I work in Funchal, so it's the capital of the island of Madeira. Madeira is an island in the middle of the ocean. We are mainly a touristic city, and I will try to present our experience we had about sharing data and how to make a win-win solutions together with technology and open data. So a brief introduction of Madeira. So in Madeira lives 120 more or less thousand inhabitants, and all the island of Madeira has less than 250,000 people living. And as you can see, we have a big amount of tourists that reach our island, and we are trying to make an effort to be a sustainable city for mobility. So as you can see in our city, the modal share, so we have a quite good rate of public transport used in our city. So 34% of the people use public transport for their movement, so it's quite good. But we are we are losing share. Well, here only some remarks regarding CIVITAS, our presence in CIVITAS family. So we were awarded of CIVITAS City in 2013. We are actually CIVINET member, and in 2011 we hosted a CIVITAS forum, so a big event of all the city. So what we did from the past. So here you can see our old transport modes, no? And we try to pass and to manage these touristic numbers, these touristic movements in our island. So, open data. In our company, in public transport company, is the fact we are managing enormous amount of data. And usually data about speed, about passengers, about paths, and so on. But normally we don't use this data for other purpose than our profit, our business. And so we started a project with the university to share our data, to make available, to make new ideas and to suggest us how we can improve our data. Well, and what we discovered that sharing our data set only regarding offer, so all the data about lines and travels could be used in a positive way. So we start a very nice partnership with a big telecommunication brand that want to be present and to promote their product in malls and big attraction spots. So what we did, basically we try to join to use the actual data, so the GTFS data, so this standard data for travels and lines and bus stop, to share with the big routing tool, so Rome to Rio, Move It, Traffic, Nokia here, and Google Transit. So our first step was to share this data, to create a common standard for this data. And we try to use this data, GTF data, in a smart television. And together we created this new information spot. So as you can see on the bottom part of this screen, there is our brand. So this communication partner that pay all the investment. And here in this screen you can see all the buses that pass through the most important interesting point. So here there is the screen. We start to test it, and you can see a small video, and is possible to see the bus stops in which and there are also space for commercials. So we join from one side the usefulness of data, of public transport data, together with the commercial interest of big brands that want to use our space and want to promote themselves. So here the first test we did of this installation in the University of Madeira with a very simple installation without any promotion, without any brand. So we paid the installation. And after here the results of the project. So we start to install this in the hospitals, in main malls, and in schools. So actually we have 12 of these stations installed around the capital of Madeira. Well, but as I described, there are many advantages of this system, but we face some problems. One problem was the lack of sometimes security, because these installations are open to public. And in one case we have someone stole the monitor, so can be the risk of vandalism. But we can see in this idea a great potential of upscaling, because the same system can be upscaled in very simple way in restaurants, coffee, lobbies, because you only need our GTFS data, a smart television, and sharing the API is very simple to access everywhere to our application. So in this case, you can see a restaurant that asks us with no cost for us, because the monitor is an investment of the restaurant, and we install this monitor in a restaurant in a quite remote area where where the bus stop is not so good, so the people can wait in the restaurant instead on the streets. Well, there are some pro and cons here. Some idea. The positive aspect is the low investment, the low maintenance cost, and the use of open data. And is very simple to upscale, so install these systems everywhere. In extreme solution, you can also check the time of the buses near your home in your smart TV in your house. The external positive element for us is very good, because we give more information to our customer. Is good because it's a win-win solution. So this telecommunication company has a big audience, because they put their logo in all the mall, all the hospital and so on. And obviously we try to improve the demand. The negative aspect. Well, there is a need in your company, all the public transport company, of strength the informatic department, no? Because you have to make real-time intervention when you have a damage or a technical problem, so you need more staff to take care of this. And obviously, as I told you, there is a risk that someone damage your system, and sometimes the partnership with the attraction point is not so good. Sometimes they don't care of the equipment in the right way. Well, here to finalize my presentation, here the total cost of the installation. So including the hours spent, the material, and the mechanic and the technician that installed the monitor and so on. So with a high impact measure, we invest only less than 15,000 euros. So I think that this table can be very clear for you. Here there is another quite interesting evidence for the people that work with communication and promotion. So we gave to this telecommunication brand a high intensive communication campaign in 12 spots in the city for a very limited price, so less than 15,000 euro. If, for example, a communication campaign in 25 buses cost 24,000 euros, and if we want to make 1 week or 1 month campaign in the MUPI network that we have in the city, it will cost 25,000 euro. So it's something very cheap and very effective for all. So here there is the win-win idea. So also our brand won a very cheap campaign. And that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Claudio. That was a very nice presentation. Did you measure through a questionnaire or interviews whether travelers liked the panels or whether they used them?
Yes, could be nice to have this data, Lynn, but I don't have this data actually. But we plan to do a questionnaire to people. Okay. Yes.
And there's a question from the audience, from Shane Hogan. Were there issues with the accuracy of the data? So did the buses always arrive as predicted, or were there timing issues with that, with buses arriving later than was set at the panels?
Yes, this is very interesting question, because we work hard on this. We make in that way. So we use real data figures, but to work earlier between 2 and 4 minutes. So our idea is give a conservative information, so the people never lost the bus. So to okay. Give earlier time, we save this problem for the customer. So we make it like an adjustment.
Okay. Thank you, Claudio. I will now give the screen to Tomasso Bonino from the city of Bologna to give his presentation on GPS cycling data.
My name is Tomasso Bonino. I'm speaking from Bologna, Italy, and I will be talking about sharing data about 2 initiatives we developed. One is with cycling, urban cycling, and one is with public transport. Oh, sorry. Okay. This is where Bologna is. I'm not going into details about Bologna, about too many things, because I think you're more interested in the presentation. So we are the public transport authority, but we not just deal with public transport. We also support and promote other modes particularly we will be talking about cycling in cities. This is the, let's say, main message. I'm not making comparisons. I'm not presenting a new joint ventures with these logos. I'm just taking a sort of inspiration, challenging inspiration, because our position is that data gathering is the new sharing. I mean, part of the sharing begins from when you have to collect data. And these are two examples I'm making available to you. The first one, as I was saying, deals with urban cycling. This is an initiative I'm talking about. We accompanied it with diverse initiatives. We have also had a photo contest, so we have collected many pictures of Bologna and of cycling in Bologna. This is one of them. What was happening before and what is happening now? Well, before, in order to know how many people were cycling in Bologna, we used to have one survey, one measurement every year, which was like this, as you can see, let's say quite usual. Some points in the city, some data in the city on certain days, in certain times, this year, the previous year, the year before, and comparisons, and so on. What is happening now? Let's say what is also happening now, because we have all the two ways of counting and measuring cycling in cities. We have developed the European Cycling Challenge. This is the presentation for the next year. Every month of May, for one whole month, we challenge, Bologna challenges the European cities in order to have their citizens bike and track their trips. I just wanted to, you can find every information about this challenge simply, as you can see, typing cyclingchallenge.eu. You will see that in 4 editions we have passed from 7 cities taking part up to 39, and the ones who have joined the initiative for the next May already have overtaken the number of 40. Participants have risen from 700 to 27,000 people all over Europe, and last year we tracked 2.5 million kilometers all around the cities. These are the results. Every city owns the heat map. This is the representation. Every city owns all the data collected, as I told you, and this is a representation. This is the heat map of cycling in Bologna. Of course, you can provide this image referring to working days, weekends, day, night, raining, not raining, everything. I don't want to go into details, but I'm sure you can imagine what I'm talking about. What happens now? This year, sorry, this image is in Italian. This year, this summer, we are providing the city with 1,000 bicycle shelters. Where is the municipality putting the shelters on the streets? They are putting the shelters where cyclists have tracked their origin or destination within the city. So you can see the green dots are the points where cyclists used to go. And the red ones are the places where the administration is putting the shelters in order to shelter the bikes of people using their bikes in the city. This is the, let's say, first and main, sorry, I'm talking about the city center. So you can see on the left green points that seems not to be taken in consideration, but the intervention is just in the city center, which is, let's say, this area. These are old shelters. There are others, but I just want you to part of the city. This is the, let's say, main and first and more interesting example of using collected data. So we give an answer to people who shared the experience of gathering data. Then I'm coming to the second experience, and this deals with public transport. As you can see, here we are in Bologna. There's a bus going to the city center, and there's a colleague of mine using her smartphone in order to give a feedback on what is her impression about public transport. She can give a feedback during the trip, before making the trip, after the trip, or just taken information about the trip and things like that, because this is a web app in order to collect feedback and opinions from the users all year round and potentially for every single trip. We used to have the same kind of survey I showed before about cycling. We had every year one survey about public transport in order to collect opinions and remarks and so on. This was made out of 2,000 people using the bus. It was quite good as a result, as you can see, but it was made 1 month a year, one time a year, one single survey every year, which is of course good, but can be subject to some perturbation, let's say, in the service or in the weather or something else. What we tried to do, this is it, was to launch a web app, and you can see this is, I show the English version in order for you to understand better, but of course it's made in Italian. You can give your feedback. You can do it anonymously. You can do it as a registered user. And of course, we have all the results. This is a 1 year results. Of course, it's not possible to go into details, but we have some information about the result. What are the results? Okay, sorry, I'm going back. What are the results? The results is not that good information. Why? Because this kind of experience has to be very much communicated to users, very much pushed to them, because otherwise the only ones taking part in this kind of survey will be the part of the users not happy with services. This is the main issue we faced. As you can see, this was not the launch phase. The launch phase was a communication we made on purpose, and other communication we had in this period. If you remember, people, that this service is available, they give you an answer. Otherwise, only the ones not happy will take this kind of possibility of giving a complaint system, which is not. This was to be continuous and very, let's say, detailed survey on all the users. For examples, we have had, this is Italian, but I just want to tell you, we used to have a strong request about night services, and we have collected those information also through the Gustibus, which is the app I'm talking about, and the city has developed a night service in the next year, as you can see next week. So this is it. I haven't told, but of course also about the Gustibus, which was developed under the project TIDE. You can find many information and many detailed information on the internet, on the website of the project. I think I am finished. Of course, if you will have any question, I will be glad to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomasso. Are there questions from the audience? There is one question from Iker Esnaola. I hope I pronounce it Iker Esnaola, I think. He asks where the open data is in these two examples, and what the role of open data is?
Well, these are open. Open is in the first experience on public on cycling. They are going to be open. The problem is having the agreement of so many cities and so many, let's say, legal framework. So we are working on making available the data. Every single city can decide on its own data, but as an initiative, as a whole, we are still working on it. You can find some cities having already shared their data. The same for public transport. We give a feedback on that, on the data we collect, making that available to users on the service charter, but not only, as I told you, also in order to have, let's say, a reaction on the service providing.
Okay, thank you. Ika, I hope your question is answered. Yes, he says thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question. So you told us about the public transport service and the questionnaires that were, or the feedback that was asked from users. It's the company that made the service. Did they really reserve money also to do something with the feedback of the users to improve their service, or was it mainly based just as feedback and in a later stage they will do something with that?
Well, we have done something with that. It's the city, it's the organizing authority. In this case, the initiative is not by the company.
Okay.
It's let's say on the other side. So budget and the reactions are on the other side, but of course still working with the company through the service contract.
Okay.
Okay, I can see my slide.
Yes.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Aviad. I'm going to talk about Tel Aviv open data, but more than a technical point of view. The city of Tel Aviv is located in the center of Tel Aviv metropolitan area. This area is the scale of city of Rome. The city itself, however, is rather small. Yet the city of Tel Aviv is a financial and cultural beating heart of Israel. The public transportation system in Tel Aviv governed by the state of Israel. That means that the interest between the Tel Aviv city and the government are not always the same, so it causes a lot of problem. Most of the public transportation is from bus. Only in the last half a year ago, we started to build a light train. So now we are digging all over the city, all of the major places. So as you can understand, the public transportation or the car transformation is blocked. So you have a lot of traffic jams, and it took more than 1 hour to pass between one side of the city to another. That was caused before the digging, it was 30 minutes. So it's a lot of delays, and that is average time, and sometimes it's even worse. As you can see in the chart, the number of employees in Tel Aviv is the same as the number of people are living in Tel Aviv. So you can understand it's a problem. This initiative to build an open data is help us to pass our data not only to the citizens, even to the control headquarters of the lights in the city, and to all the people that uses and come to visit the city, and again for everyone that is trying to pass the city because of the public works today about in the light train. As you can see in the left side, we decided to build an open data API for developers. We have another open data viewer for people just want to look at the data. You can look at the data in a map, a dynamic map, a GIS technology, and you can download all of the data as a shapefile, as a public layer, GIS layer. If you want to deal it in yourself, in the university, at home, student, pupils, everything, everyone can have the city data. The other side is the API. The API is built for developers. We have two API now. The first one is uses how we call it, a special API, and the other one is a REST API. If someone from here is a developer, the kind of data you can see: facilities, infrastructures. You have pharmacy, school, kindergarten, shelters. As you know, we have every year and a half, we have sometimes a missile attack, so we have a lot of security layers like shelters, horn, where you have horns. If someone didn't use the horn, you should get to the city, and we try to make it better. Libraries, recycle facilities, etc., etc. All the data of the city that is not, it's not private, it's not with people data, it's open for everyone. Even transportation data that we're dealing in is a real parking lots. You can develop an application with a real-time data. You can have a real-time bike availability, all of the rental. You have that. That is one of the best side of the API is the road closure. The road closure came from the town application. It's about closure because of works, closure because of hazard area, and closure about because of the closed by events and etc. etc. Night walks, which are the roads that have a night walk permission, cycle lane, share data and everything. That is the data. We all know the open data, it's not generate income, or you don't have return of investment, because we have to develop it, we have to maintain it, we have to update it, and it's a lot of how you said it, it's a lot of work to maintain it. The first step for building an open data is to convince the city council that they could not get money from selling data. They should open it for everyone. In Tel Aviv, the data is open in many ways, as I said, the GS layers or API, or just a data that you can download as an Excel file. It's open, not in charge for everyone, from companies, for people, for universities. But the real problem, you can build a magnificent open data, but sometimes nobody uses it. So it's a great open data, but you can't even use it because no one needs it. So we try to make it in a few ways to make it worse. The first thing, we open an hackathon competition. Hackathon, it's about 36 hours of building application in a special place. Why? We wanted the developers and the public and a lot of people heard about this initiative of the open data. It works. We have already 2 hackathons. The first one is in November 2014, and we had about 26 applications were presented, about 150 participated. It was great. It was the starting. It was the first time that we announced an hackathon in Tel Aviv. It was a great party, free beers, and a lot of very good environment. In 1 month ago, we initiated the second hackathon, and it was really bigger and much better from the perspective of the people. It was 200 people arrived. We have 41 pitches was presented. and a lot of leading mentors from a lot of companies, HPE, VIA, if you know, it's a competition of Uber. It was Pango, the automatic parking application. Waze from Google. Uber Move It is the bus company application that came from Israel. So they came to be mentors and help the developers to understand. And the new thing that we made, it's round tables. We get a lot of people that living in the neighborhoods, that they have a debate and presented the problem and the challenges in the urban transportation with people from the transportation area and the people that live in the neighborhood. So it's begin with a lot of talking and understanding the main problem of the city. Most of the people that develop application and the 5 finalists, we go to accelerator, they get more money and a few other months to build an application. The people that win in 2014, after the acceleration, the one is working with a city municipality, and the other just raised another amount of money for application for parking. But it's raised awareness that the city is open a lot of data. The other way to maintain your data is, first of all, we build our own city mobile application that use the open data. So we have already one good customer, city, the municipality. But the second thing, we have a lot of luck that Waze chose Tel Aviv to participate with a global city of the reduced traffic. As I mentioned, we have data in the open data. They did the closure, the road closure data. All the public works you can see in the right place on the right, that is showing the closure in the city. You can see the slides, the people that run in the night run. In the right, you can see all the places that was closed because of the night run. Waze is the most popular GPS. Okay. Waze is the most popular application, GPS application routing in Israel. More than 1 million drivers using it in around of Tel Aviv. So it's a great success that we can have our data help the others by decision making, how they're going to open in the morning and where they're going to ride and try the route. But as you can understand, the Waze is changing our way of using our lights and how lights works and the lights traffic plan, because Waze causes the traffic jam sometimes. So it's a hard way to know where is the traffic will be. The open data in we try to trail run. And we have, again, the luck, because Google Maps didn't use our road closure data. And Waze uses it. So we compare the two routing with both of them. And we can say we have an average reduce of time to using Waze with the multiple data. It's about 19% shorter. So again, we get a little bit of benefits from our data, the open data. Again, and we are trying that university will get the data, download the data. A lot of engineers, departments that are went to the hackathon are using the data online, and we have a lot of coordination with the government and the cities around us. In development, how we call it, the open data conclusion. One of the conclusions that I mentioned before, in the first hackathon in 1914, there was only 3 or 4 women that were persecuted, as mostly as designers. We went in the 2016, we went to a group that said she is developer, and we were able to get about 30% of the people were women participated, and most of them were developers. So It's again, for us, it was great because you can see the younger generation, a lot of women developers, so it was nice. We can, a lot of data conclusion, but I will tell, maintaining the data and coordinate with another department and get a lot of new data. The achievement, as I said, we can disseminate the data with ways and uses a lot of ways like another application. We build an hackathon, we raise awareness of the data, and that the city is giving our data for free. The challenge is the apps, the startups are mainly short-time startups. So as you can know in your phones, cellular phones, smartphones, we only use one GPS navigation application, WhatsApp, mail. Most of the other are not usually used, only for certain time. So it's a problem with the apps. We want to change our open data to a standard, so it will be easier for developers to use. Now it's a little bit difficult because we build it on every time a little bit more. We build more and more, not looking so good. So we are going to make it as a standard and easy way to use. We want to join the Smart City initiative with the open data. That will be much helpful for each other. And another and more useful cooperation with municipal and government. That is very important for us. As I said, the transportation is governed by the city, so it should be more and more efficient that we have a cooperation, a well cooperation. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you, Aviad. Are there questions about this presentation? Well, no. There's a question. Let me read it out for you. A question from Oscar Formaggio. To create your API open data, have you used a particular open source system?
No. It's very low technology because you use a REST. Everyone can use it. You don't have to use something that's open. It's a web service, and also iOS for Apple system and Android and Windows can use it. It's only it's an API for developers. You cannot should have something important to use it, and we built it on a standard way of .NET and EtherI structure in infrastructure with the American company EtherI. But if you want to use it, you can use it whenever you want.
Okay, thank you for answering that question, Aviad. I think, yes. We will now go to the last presentation from Torbjørn Barslett. He works for Ruter As, the public transport company in and around Oslo. I will make him the presenter now.
Yes, I am going to, I guess, make a little more theoretical approach to the question about open data. I will say something about how we have been exposing open data in Oslo, and also how we have turned more also to start using open data ourselves. First, to give some key facts about us in Ruter and Oslo and the public transport. We are the public transport authority of the Greater Oslo area. That means the two counties of Oslo and Akershus, which is the more rural county outside of Oslo. It's an area with a little more than 1 million inhabitants, and we have been giving travel information as open data, both as API and scheduled data since about 2009. To go directly to what was discussed at the end of the last presentation. We are exposing the API as open web service based on the Microsoft Web API, which can be consumed by everyone, and the scheduled data as GTFS data, which is more or less the norm around the world these days. We use a standardized license model, which is the Norwegian license for open data, which is used by most of the public companies who are providing open data. It means that you can use the data as they are given, but you're not allowed to modify them. And it's basically open for everyone, so it's just to connect, and we don't have any authorization, stuff like that to use it. It's basically just to access the open URLs and use data as they are provided. For a while we were actually requiring that people register in order to get access. We stopped doing that about a year and a half ago. Then there were already more than 1,000 registered users. Now there are more. This includes more or less all kinds of people and organizations, all the way from students just making some assignments for their university classes, and up to the big companies as Google, Apple, Microsoft, and so on. It's something we do basically without thinking too much, because we don't get many questions. People use data, and yeah, it doesn't cost us too many calories to administrate it. About open data, it can just be discussed what is actually the purpose of open data, because we haven't been speaking too much about that today. What is one statement that is actually quite common is this one, that the data provided by the public sector actually belong to the people, because it's a democracy, and the public sector shouldn't be just sitting on data which actually is about services that belong to everyone. So that's one of the basic ideas about our providing of open data. The next one is, I guess it came more or less as political reaction to the first provisions of open data. Because now authorities in both Norway, which are outside the European Union, and also in the European Commission, it's stated that providing of open data from public sector should stimulate to innovation in private sector, which we also guess is true. But then we can have this more theoretical thing, that actually open source, open data is something that empowers the people. It's not only something that should be used by commercial interests, but everyone, by using open data, can actually be more in control of the world surrounding. But let's talk about something more down to earth. What you see here is how we started with open data. The approach was actually quite simple. Some people, some developers, they were actually asking about using our open data, because we had a very simple API with the departure information in real time for stops on the bus and tram network. So we opened for that, and then yeah, we were just giving data, and we were not concerned about anything else than actually just providing the data, and someone were consuming the data. So that was basically what we had to deal with then. Then we found out that we could actually do something more out of it, because we thought, how can we get some feedback cycle? How can we also learn something or have improved services or whatever by people consuming the data. So we established the Ruter Labs, which actually still exists as a Facebook page. So what we thought was that, okay, we were getting more customer orientated. That means we could get feedback from the customers, actually our passengers. But the customers could also be developers or people who are using the open data. So we thought that, okay, we can have everyone to give feedback to the labs. It could be developers using the open data. It could also be our passengers. Somehow this wasn't actually going so well because we didn't get so much feedback as we actually thought about, and we didn't have the resources at that time to actually be more working with the Ruter Labs. But in principle, the idea was that we could use this as a platform for interaction and to give something back, so we could also learn something. But we'll come back to that later, how we have yeah, something similar to that, but in another way still. But yeah, so it was still focusing on what we provided as open data. But then at the same time, open this, open that, we have open data, we have open source software, we have crowdsourcing of data. All of this was getting more mature. It wasn't just something that someone here and there were doing, but more and more what we saw was that, of course, more public companies were supplying open data, not only public transport companies around Europe and the rest of the world, but also other public companies. Let's say like in Norway we have, of course, data from the map authority, we have from the road authorities, and so on. So this was something that people using open data could actually combine different data sources to get some really more innovative products out of it. At the same time, we also saw that open source software got better and more used. And on our own side, we also started using open source software, which was something completely new, because up to quite recently, we have been focusing on only buying software from commercial providers and have a big focus on SLA agreements and so on. What also has happened is that crowdsourced datasets actually have been improving and to a really good quality. That includes datasets as the OpenStreetMap, which yeah, in many ways here in Norway has better quality than the map data from the public map authority. So what you see here is some guys from two different sides of the Atlantic cooperating on drawing a common map about map of the Northern Atlantic. So what we have done here in the Ruter is actually starting to use the Open Trip Planner, which is an open source platform which is being developed in cooperation by a lot of different users. It was started up in Portland, Oregon 6, 7, 8 years ago. Today it's used for a Dutch service called the Planner Stack, which provides travel planner information for the Netherlands. It's in use for the coming Finnish national travel planner. Lots of different others in the US and also in Europe are using it. We started using it about last New Year, and of course it has some challenges, because we cannot call some provider and ask them or actually tell them to fix errors. We have to participate in fixing them ourselves. But it's quite an interesting experience, and we see that we will come quite a bit longer using this software than if we had only been sticking to commercial platforms. So this is the model that we have today. If you remember the thing we had here with the 3 different circles, it's not so very different from that. But here we have ourselves. We are giving open data to the community. The community out there, they are working with open software and datasets. They are, if people see that Ruter's travel planning data are not good enough, let's say that they see that some of the walking paths provided by our travel planner are not correct enough, they can go directly into the OpenStreetMap and correct it. And we will take this back again. If people see that the OpenStreetPlanner is not good enough software, they can actually participate in improving the software, and we will get it back in the feedback loop. So in this way, open data, open software, and so on will be part of the complete cycle. And I think this is quite fruitful compared to the way we started using open data, which was just a one-way service. Just shortly some words about the data quality, because that's of course always important. And by exposing our open data, we need to be aware of the quality issues in data, because if we have errors or mistakes done in the data, they will be visible and readable for everyone. So we should actually use this as a way to be more aware of the work we are doing. And there are some big trends. Not only open data, but also big data is of course a trend. These go more or less the same way, and big data, in principle, big data, lots of data, should mean that these data in general should be more correct and more in touch with reality. So if there are lots of data, it will also make the quality better. This is quite a theoretical approach. It doesn't always turn out like that in real life, but I think that as we get more big data from, let's say, back from operations, public transport operations, but also other big data from what happens out in society, this will improve. Yes, one point here is about the crowdsourced data. The OpenStreetMap data that I told you are really good quality in urban areas. But if you go out to more rural areas, outside of villages and so on, we have seen that suddenly data are not existing. And how can we be sure enough that all our users will actually get good enough data quality, and not only people in the city cores and other urban areas? So that is a question that is really relevant to us as a public service, because public services should of course be available to all inhabitants in our region, and not only those who are, let's say, so-called happy enough to live close to our offices. Yeah, and last one, open source projects. Just last note about that. Open software has already a model for this, because you cannot add bad data. you cannot enter bad code into open source projects because it has to be approved. And if you are exposing that you deliver bad code, you will get negative feedback. So it's a way to make sure that the quality is good enough, and maybe that also could be applicable for other aspects of the whole open data question. So I think that was more or less what I had to say from Oslo. So thank you.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Torbjørn. You told us about the feedback loop, about well, people being able to see what is in the open data, what's done with that, and be able to improve things. Do you also stimulate people to improve things? How? Because you said it was difficult to this feedback loop. Do you undertake some sort of action to stimulate people to do something when they see something's wrong, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, we haven't actively been doing that too much yet, because we just recently started with the OpenStreetMap and OpenTripPlanner from this new year. So, but we are of course thinking about doing it, but we don't know in which way yet how to do it best. But of course we know that we don't get the good enough feedback if we don't actually ask for it loudly. So we are aware of it.
Okay, thanks. Well, the floor is now open for questions for all presenters. I have already a question here for Tomasso. So Tomasso, if you can unmute yourself, I will read aloud the question from Shane Hogan. Did the collection of user feedback pick up anything about accessibility for people with disabilities?
Yes, this is one of the voices. I did forget to say that voices were taken from the ISO standard 13816. So the disabled people with the difficulties in moving are of course part of it, and we have had feedbacks about that, yes.
So that's it from my side. So unless someone has a question to the presenters, or maybe the presenters have questions for other presenters, I'm not sure, then that's it for today. So thanks again to all the presenters and also to everyone attending, and I'll be in touch with you about the follow-up of this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.